What if everything you've been putting off is secretly stealing your future? I need you to pause everything right now. Just for this moment. Lean back, breathe deeply, and clear your mind. Close your eyelids gently. Eliminate all distractions, all background noise. Concentrate on this single, crucial inquiry. Are you actively creating your existence or merely surviving day by day? We all carry aspirations within us, correct? We desire to explore different nations, possess that ideal vehicle, experience true liberty, discover mental serenity, feel valued by others, and absolutely, experience genuine joy. We seek affection, accomplishment, and contentment. We all want an existence that feels meaningful, one that we can reflect upon with genuine satisfaction. But here's the fundamental question. What specific actions are you taking presently to manifest that reality? What concrete steps are you executing right now, this exact instant, to approach closer to that visionary life you've consistently envisioned? Are you still scrolling infinitely through digital platforms? Are you consuming endless video content that brings zero value to your development? Are you manufacturing justifications for why you cannot commence today? Still pressing delay and squandering precious moments? Still terrified of experiencing setbacks? Still anticipating that circumstances will transform miraculously? Allow me to remind you of an essential truth. This existence, this reality is authentic, but your temporal resources, your chronological allocation is finite. You don't receive a repetition opportunity at existence. There's no restart mechanism. This represents your current reality, this present moment. The decisions you make presently will mold your future reality. Listen intently. If you desire greater fulfillment from existence, if you want to transform your circumstances, if you want to communicate more effectively in English, generate increased financial resources, become self-assured and accomplished, then cease observing this content like a detached spectator. Experience it profoundly. Listen with purposeful engagement. Listen as though your destiny hinges upon it, because truthfully it does. First principle. Temporal resources represent your existence. Don't terminate them prematurely. Chronological allocation, my companion, represents your most precious possession. Every moment you squander, every hour you permit to escape, represents a fragment of your life that becomes permanently irrecoverable. You aren't simply misusing time when you delay essential tasks. You're annihilating invaluable segments of your existence gradually, yet inevitably. You might not perceive it currently, but life continues progressing. It's steadily advancing. The chronological measurement continues, uninterrupted. Every second you expend procrastinating, every minute you scroll through your digital feed or activate snooze on your awakening device, you are surrendering a portion of your life. Question yourself internally. What meaningful actions did you perform during the previous day? What accomplishments did you achieve the day before that? And what constructive plans are you formulating for tomorrow? Do you experience the sensation of making tangible advancement, or do you feel trapped, anticipating that ideal circumstance that never appears to materialize? Here's the undeniable reality: that unspecified future moment you're persistently awaiting will never manifest. It represents a falsehood. Your aspirations remain indifferent to your justifications. The world remains unconcerned about your explanations. The sole element that holds significance remains your tangible outcomes, the initiatives you implement today. Begin appreciating your temporal resources like precious metal. Every 60 minutes, every moment carries weight. Document your strategic plan for the day. Concentrate on one specific objective that will propel you forward. Eliminate 1 hour of meaningless social platform scrolling. Utilize that reclaimed time to absorb knowledge, develop skills, or experience personal growth. Time represents a present, but it can simultaneously become your most formidable opponent if you fail to honor it properly. Second principle: cease attributing responsibility and commence constructing value. I'm preparing to share something challenging, something you might prefer not to receive. Your life represents your complete accountability. No external entity will resolve it for you. Not your familial relations, not your companions, not your employment superior, not even governmental structures, solely yourself. Excessive individuals currently waste their existences lamenting about what they failed to obtain, what they didn't accomplish, or how they lacked equivalent possibilities as other people. They attribute responsibility to their childhood environment, their situational limitations, their deficiency of essential resources. But allow me to reveal which individuals achieve victory in existence. The person who declares, "I remain unconcerned about what I didn't receive. I will construct something significant from absolute scarcity." Consider influential figures like Oprah Winfrey. She entered existence experiencing economic hardship, encountered maltreatment during youthful years, and despite these challenges, currently she exists as a multi-billionaire. Among the most esteemed females globally, she didn't remain stationary and attribute responsibility to her situational limitations. She constructed her dominion with nothing except unwavering persistence and relentless drive. Acknowledge your personal narrative, but refuse to become a casualty of that story. You represent the master designer of your existence. Repeat this affirmation daily. I accept complete responsibility for my life experience. Document your challenges. Then document one resolution for each challenge and implement decisive action. Regardless of how modest, you aren't unfortunate. You aren't lacking strength. You simply haven't activated your latent capabilities yet. And today, that transformation occurs. Third principle: your comfort territory represents a cleverly designed trap. Liberate yourself from it. You recognize that familiar sensation upon awakening. Examining your mobile device, consuming nourishment, perhaps browsing through social platforms, and then replicating the identical pattern day, following day. It feels secure, correct? Soothing even. But here's the critical revelation. Your comfort territory is silently murdering your aspirations. Zero development occurs within comfortable circumstances. Achievement, genuine achievement, becomes constructed, external to it. If you desire to speak fluent English, initiate speaking immediately, even if you commit grammatical errors. If you want to, initiate entrepreneurial ventures. Execute the initial phase, today, even if it involves experiencing failure. But the majority of individuals never even commence. Why? Because they experience terror of uneasiness. They dread unsuccessful outcomes. They dread external assessment. And they dread humiliating situations. But here's the essential understanding. Failure doesn't represent the antagonist. It constitutes an integral component of the progression. Don't permit terror to immobilize you. If you desire specific outcomes, you must maintain willingness to experience uneasiness, to advance beyond that internal resistance, to elevate above the persistent uncertainties. Visualize a plant seed. If it remains concealed within earth, it will never develop. It must penetrate through the soil surface. It must encounter sunlight, encounter atmospheric movement. Only through this process does it transform into a mature tree. The identical principle applies to your situation. You represent a seed anticipating developmental breakthrough. But you must encounter the uneasiness initially. Perform something uncomfortable during each day. Communicate in English, even when experiencing apprehension. Submit application for that desired position. Share that creative content. Initiate that crucial conversation. Experience failure with dignity, but fail in progressive directions because no significant accomplishment ever originated from maintaining absolute safety. Fourth principle, I'll complete it subsequently, represents a falsehood. Let's address reality directly. If you represent the category of person who continuously states, I'll complete it subsequently, then you're engaging in self-deception. And the increased deception you practice, the more you systematically destroy your inherent potential. I'll complete it subsequently represents the vocal expression of terror, the vocal expression of indolence, the vocal expression of your less capable identity attempting to restrain your progress. And here's the most perilous component. Subsequently, never materializes. Subsequently transforms into never. If you desire to acquire English knowledge, execute it immediately. If you want to initiate physical training, commence today. If you want to launch business ventures, take the inaugural step right now. Because if you maintain waiting for the flawless timing, you'll ultimately wait indefinitely. Procrastination exclusively leads to profound regret. And allow me to clarify, regret represents the most severe suffering you'll ever encounter. It's suffering that never dissipates. Every instance you postpone something important, you generate a future iteration of yourself that becomes saturated with regret. Is that your genuine desire? Establish a chronometer for merely 10 minutes. whatever the task involves. Whether studying English, documenting your business strategy, or any other objective, initiate it now. Don't hesitate. Don't overanalyze. If you don't execute it now, you will probably never execute it. Therefore, take that inaugural step, however miniature, because one miniature action now surpasses 100 flawless strategies for subsequently. Allow me to inquire something meaningful. How many occasions have you initiated something significant, whether representing a definite, creative project, an interest activity, or even acquiring new capabilities, and then abandoned it midway? Through completion, it becomes simple to become sidetracked. We inhabit a reality saturated with continuous auditory disturbance. We maintain social platforms, buzzing every moment, communications inundating constantly, alerts appearing continuously, and infinite elements competing for our cognitive attention. And within this complete chaos, we sacrifice concentration. We initiate something but fail to complete it. Why? Because concentration represents a capability that requires development, nurturing, and consistent practice. Here's the severe reality. If you want to experience success in existence, you must maintain ability to concentrate. Concentrate on your objectives. Concentrate on meaningful elements. Concentrate on the subsequent phase, not the distractions that pull you toward innumerable different directions. Success becomes constructed upon miniature, consistent efforts. It doesn't involve laboring intensely for 1 week and then diminishing effort for the subsequent week. It involves dedicating yourself to your objectives every individual day. It involves making those seemingly insignificant selections, like choosing to practice your English capabilities for 15 minutes every day rather than browsing through short video platforms that guide toward significant outcomes. Therefore, how do you concentrate when all other elements appear more stimulating? Straightforward. You acquire ability to assign priority. You identify the responsibilities that maintain utmost importance and channel your mental energy into those specific tasks. Attempt this methodology. Select one responsibility every day. Simply one. It can represent miniature scale. It can represent large scale. But maintaining importance to achieve completion. Maintain laser-like concentration on that specific responsibility until achieving completion. Eliminate distractions. Configure your mobile device to do not disturb mode. Close unnecessary browser windows and grant yourself authorization to labor without interruptions. Concentration represents muscular capability. The increased you practice, the more powerful it becomes. Currently, you might contemplate, I can concentrate for 1 day or 2 days. But what about extended term achievement? That represents where consistency enters the equation. Consistency represents the unrecognized champion of achievement. It represents the power that transforms dreams into actuality. It represents the differentiation between those who achieve success and those who Experience failure. Observe the most accomplished individuals globally. They don't labor more intensely than other individuals. They labor with increased intelligence and more consistently. They appear every day. They adhere to their behavioral patterns. They don't wait for inspiration to arrive unexpectedly. Instead, they generate their own forward momentum through taking miniature steps forward even during days when they lack motivational feelings. Whether you're acquiring language skills, initiating entrepreneurial ventures, or achieving physical fitness, consistency represents the essential key. You don't need to make enormous leaps every individual day, but providing you maintain taking miniature steps in the correct direction, you'll experience astonishment at how significantly you can advance. Commence through creating a structured routine. Reserve temporal allocation each day, regardless how packed your schedule appears, to concentrate on your most significant objectives. It maintains irrelevance if representing only 15 minutes per day. The essential point represents that you appear every day and achieve progression, even if representing merely minimal advancement. The outcomes will accumulate across temporal progression. It becomes temporal to address a significant issue. Unsuccessful attempts. Excessive individuals experience terror of experiencing failure that they avoid implementing action completely. They dread committing mistakes, so they don't even attempt. But here's the reality regarding failure. It represents an inherent component of achievement. Actually, failure becomes absolutely necessary. The individuals you respect, the business creators, the sports professionals, the digital influencers, they've all experienced failure extensively, but they didn't permit their failures to immobilize them. They utilize them as progressive platforms. Every mistake you commit brings you one step closer to achievement. The genuine failure doesn't involve collapsing downward. The genuine failure involves remaining collapsed. Consider Thomas Edison. He famously experienced failure 1,000 occasions before successfully creating the illumination device. And when someone inquired him about his failures, he didn't perceive them as failures completely. He stated, "I have not experienced failure. I've simply discovered 1,000 methodologies that will not function." That represents how you should perceive failure. It doesn't represent the conclusion of the pathway. It represents simply one component of the journey. And every occasion you experience failure, you acquire knowledge. Every occasion you experience failure, you experience growth. Don't dread failure. Actually, welcome it. Subsequent occasion you commit an error or circumstances, don't unfold as strategically planned. Commemorate it. It signifies you're progressing along the correct pathway. Every occasion you experience failure, question yourself, what knowledge can I acquire from this experience? Then regain upright position and maintain forward progression. I recognize this might sound repetitive, but allow me to express it regardless. Maintain belief in yourself. If you don't maintain belief in your capability to achieve your dreams, No external individual will. Self-confidence represents a fundamental foundation of everything you will ever accomplish. How can you anticipate achieving success if you don't believe that you maintain capability? You represent the most significant individual within your journey. Lacking belief within yourself, all the concentration, consistency, and intense labor within the floated global reality will represent nothing. Believing within yourself doesn't represent thinking you maintain perfection. It doesn't represent maintaining arrogance. It simply represents maintaining the confidence to maintain forward progression, even when circumstances appear impossible. Consider all the occasions you've experienced doubt within yourself. Currently, consider how many of those occasions you maintained capability to overcome your uncertainties and emerge more powerful upon the opposite aspect. You've accomplished it previously, and you maintain capability to accomplish it again. Develop your belief muscular capability. Document your objectives and remind yourself every day that you maintain the power to accomplish them. Commemorate miniature victories along the pathway. Every step forward, regardless how miniature, represents a step toward the existence you desire. There will maintain days when you desire to surrender completely. There will maintain days when the pathway appears excessively difficult, excessively extended, excessively demanding. But allow me to clarify this. The differentiation between those who achieve success and those who experience failure represents straightforward. It represents the individuals who maintain progression regardless of circumstances. If you maintain progression, you will achieve success. You don't require becoming the most intelligent or the most gifted individual within the environment. You simply require becoming the individual who declines to surrender. Therefore, maintain pushing forward, maintain striving, maintain believing, because you maintain capability of achieving magnificence. Your dreams maintain existence within your accessibility, the sole element obstructing between you and achievement represents your willingness to maintain progression even when circumstances become difficult. When circumstances become challenging, remind yourself internally why you initiated. Consider your objectives. Consider the existence you desire to create. Then implement one additional step forward. Maintain progression even when circumstances become difficult, because achievement maintains existence upon the opposite aspect of that ultimate effort. Within contemporary accelerated global society, we've become conditioned to anticipate instantaneous outcomes. We desire everything immediately. Accelerated internet connectivity, immediate file downloads, quicker solutions, and the catalog continues endlessly. But here's the reality. Examination. Achievement doesn't occur overnight. The progression represents extended. It represents challenging, and it consumes temporal resources. I recognize it becomes frustrating. You might experience sensations like you've been contributing complete labor and not observing the outcomes you desire. But here's the essential understanding. Patience represents one of the most significant virtues you can maintain upon your fader. Journey toward achievement. Consider a tree. You don't plant a seed today and anticipate a completely developed tree tomorrow. It consumes temporal resources to develop, to reach maturity, and to produce nutritional fruits. Achievement resembles that process. The miniature, consistent actions you implement today will to accumulate across temporal progression and guide toward something incredible. But you require maintaining patience. It becomes simple to experience discouragement when circumstances aren't occurring rapidly. But remember, if you maintain consistency, if you maintain improving merely minimal increments each day, those outcomes will materialize. They might not manifest as rapidly as you desire, but they'll materialize. Acquire ability to experience enjoyment within the progression. Don't concentrate exclusively upon the final destination. Every day you contribute the mental effort. You're experiencing growth, and that represents achievement within itself. Trust that your intense labor will ultimately yield returns, and maintain patience with the chronological timeline of your journey. Have you ever observed how your emotional state and vitality levels can transform based upon the individuals you allocate temporal resources with? It represents zero coincidence. The individuals surrounding you maintain a powerful effect upon your mental framework and your productive output. If you maintain constant proximity to negative individuals who question your dreams or inform you that what you're executing represents temporal waste, it will become significantly more challenging to maintain motivation and positive mindset. That represents why it becomes so significant to encircle yourself with individuals who elevate your spirits, provide encouragement, and distribute the identical principles and objectives. Encircle yourself with individuals who inspire you toward achieving your optimal potential. Search for experienced guides, supportive friends, or collective communities who comprehend the significance of development, achievement, and self-enhancement. These represent the individuals who will assist you maintain correct pathway when circumstances become challenging. They will provide enthusiastic support when you succeed and elevate your spirits when you experience failure. A positive environmental atmosphere creates complete differentiation. When you become encircled by like-minded individuals, you'll naturally experience increased motivation and inspiration. Examine your internal social circle. Do they provide support for your development? If negative, contemplate implementing some modifications. Search for interpersonal relationships that encourage positive mindset and progressive advancement. If you cannot, discover that within physical proximity. Search for digital communities that align with your objectives. Let's confront reality directly. Existence represents challenging, and regardless how intensely you strive, there will maintain setbacks, challenges will materialize. You'll encounter obstacles, and occasionally it will experience like everything opposes you. But here's the most powerful element you can maintain upon your journey: resilience. Resilience represents the capability to recover from unsuccessful attempts. It involves regaining upright position, removing dust from yourself, and attempting again, even when the probabilities oppose you. Consider the most accomplished individuals you respect. What common characteristics do they all maintain? They didn't permit failure to define their identity. They didn't permit challenges to immobilize them. They constructed their resilience, muscular capability, and you maintain capability also. Resilience doesn't represent something you inherit genetically. It represents something you develop through experiential learning. The increased you encounter adversity, the more powerful you become. Each occasion you collapse, you regain upright position. Each occasion you encounter a reversal, you acquire knowledge innovative. When you encounter obstacles, don't permit them to shatter your spirit. Utilize them as opportunities to acquire knowledge, experience growth, and strengthen your resilience. The increased resilient you become, the less probable you become to surrender. When circumstances become challenging, remember, setbacks represent only preparations for recoveries. Within the pursuit of achievement, it becomes simple to become captured within the intense activity. We push ourselves intensely, laboring extended hours, sacrificing sleep, and neglecting our personal wellness. But here's the essential understanding. Achievement doesn't represent anything if you're not healthy sufficiently to experience enjoyment from it. Self-preservation doesn't represent an optional luxury. It represents an absolute necessity. If you want to appear as your optimal self, you require to provide care for your physical body, mental capacity, and spiritual essence, whether representing acquiring sufficient sleep, consuming nutritious sustenance, performing physical exercise, or simply allocating temporal resources to experience relaxation. Self-preservation becomes essential for maintaining the vitality and concentration demanded to achieve success. Self-preservation doesn't involve exclusively bubble baths and spa experiences, though those maintain pleasantness. Also, it involves discovering equilibrium and executing what maintains optimal benefit for your wellness. It involves ensuring that you're not simply grinding yourself into microscopic particles, but nourishing yourself to maintain progression powerfully. Make self-preservation an elevated priority. Reserve temporal allocation each day to provide care for yourself. It doesn't require representing extended duration, simply several minutes of mindful awareness. A walking experience externally or a nutritious meal can create complete differentiation. Remember, providing care for yourself doesn't represent selfish behavior. It represents an investment within your future achievement. Let's conclude this with the most significant communication from everything. Implement decisive action. You can maintain complete concentration, consistency, resilience, and self-confidence within the rhetoric global reality. But zero from that maintains significance if you don't implement decisive action. Action represents what makes your dreams become reality. It represents the connecting bridge between your current location and your desired destination. Cease waiting for the flawless moment. Cease waiting for inspiration to arrive unexpectedly. The flawless moment will never materialize. The temporal opportunity to act represents currently. Don't postpone your dreams for tomorrow. Implement one miniature action today, regardless how miniature, and observe it experience exponential growth. Every significant accomplishment commences with one miniature step. It maintains irrelevance if that step maintains imperfection, providing you're progressing forward. The essential key represents to maintain movement. Establish an objective. Implement one action step toward that objective today. It could represent as straightforward as documenting it, initiating a telephone communication, or performing investigative research. Whatever it represents, simply implement the inaugural step. Don't hesitate. The temporal opportunity to act represents currently. Have you ever observed how challenging it becomes to initiate activity, but how much simplified it becomes once you maintain forward momentum, whether representing awakening early, performing physical training, or even immersing into innovative projects? The most challenging component often represents simply initiating activity. This represents where momentum enters the equation. Once you commence implementing action, even the most miniature actions, they commence to accumulate and experience growth. It resembles a snowball rolling downward a hillside. Initially, it represents miniature and it might experience insignificant, but across temporal progression, it acquires velocity, and ultimately, it becomes unstoppable. Momentum represents one of the most powerful forces within achievement. It propels you forward, even when circumstances become challenging. And the optimal component, it maintains complete existence within your control. Everything you require to execute represents implement that inaugural step and maintain movement one miniature action at a temporal moment. Don't wait for creative inspiration or motivation to arrive toward you. Develop momentum through implementing consistent action, even if representing merely 5 minutes per day. That consistency will accumulate. Across temporal progression, commence miniature, but maintain progression. And before you acquire knowledge, you'll have developed the momentum demanded to propel you toward your objectives. If there maintains one element you can depend upon in existence, it represents transformation. The global reality experiences constant evolution, and the pathway you maintain currently might appear completely different tomorrow. And that maintains acceptability. Actually, that maintains beyond simple acceptability. It becomes absolutely necessary. Transformation can experience intimidating, especially when you've been contributing significant labor towards something exclusively to observe circumstances transform unexpectedly. But the reality represents your capability to adjust to transformation will determine how successful you become within the extended duration. Consider it logically. The most accomplished individuals globally represent those who maintain willingness to adjust. They welcome transformation. They acquire knowledge from it, and they experience growth more powerful because of it. Maintain openness toward transformation. Don't grasp tightly to antiquated methodologies simply because they experience secure the capability to adjust to innovative circumstances represents one of the essential keys to extended term achievement. Maintain willingness to modify your strategic plans, attempt innovative methodologies, and acquire knowledge during progression. The more adaptable you become, the better prepared you'll become to manage whatever arrives toward your pathway. While you maintain your journey, it becomes significant to pause temporarily and reflect upon how significantly you've advanced. It becomes simple to become so captured within the intense activity and persistent effort that you neglect to appreciate the progression you've accomplished. Allocate one moment currently to consider everything you've achieved, the steps you've implemented, the obstacles you've overcome, the knowledge you've acquired. Each from these represents a personal victory. Celebrating these miniature victories maintains significance because it reminds you that you're progressing along the correct pathway. It assists you maintain motivation even when circumstances become demanding. When you can acknowledge your progression, it provides you the vitality to maintain progression. Allocate temporal resources to reflect upon your progression. Consistently celebrate your miniature victories, regardless how insignificant they might appear. The increased you acknowledge your development, the more motivated you'll become to maintain forward progression. It becomes absolutely essential to maintain significant dreams, to imagine your desired future location, to establish your aspirations elevated, and to challenge yourself toward achieving magnificence. But equally significant as dreaming significantly represents knowing how to acquire those significant dreams and separate them into miniature, manageable, progressive steps. The pathway toward achievement doesn't represent a straight line. It becomes complete with twists, directional changes, and alternative routes. But the essential key represents to concentrate upon the subsequent step confronting you. Don't experience overwhelmed by the significant complete picture. Instead, separate it downward and concentrate upon what you can execute today. When you implement miniature, deliberate actions every day, those progressive steps experience accumulation. And before you acquire knowledge, you'll become closer toward accomplishing your dreams than you ever imagined possible. Don't experience intimidated by the dimensions of your dreams. Separate them downward into miniature, actionable progressive steps. Implement one step at a temporal moment and maintain developing momentum toward your more significant vision. The miniature actions you implement today will ultimately guide toward massive achievement. One from the most significant elements you can execute upon your journey toward achievement represents to never cease acquiring knowledge. The global reality experiences constant transformation, and the increased you acquire knowledge, the better prepared you'll become to manage whatever arrives toward your pathway. Acquiring knowledge doesn't occur exclusively within educational institutions or with academic textbooks. You can acquire knowledge from experiential learning, from failures, from other individuals' achievements, and from challenges. The most accomplished individuals globally represent those who welcome a mental framework of continuous development. They maintain constant search for methodologies to improve, to experience evolution, and to acquire additional knowledge. Adopt a mental framework of continuous knowledge acquisition. Commit toward expanding your understanding every individual day, whether representing reading, literary works, completing educational courses, or listening to audio programs. Discover methodologies to maintain acquiring knowledge. The increased you acquire knowledge, the more you'll experience growth, and the more successful you'll ultimately become. Therefore, here we exist. We've advanced significantly together. But this represents exclusively the commencement. Achievement doesn't represent a final destination. It represents a continuous journey. And this journey maintains uniqueness specifically yours. You currently maintain the instruments, the mental framework, and the strategic approaches to pursue your dreams with complete confidence. The essential key represents to maintain forward progression, one step at a temporal moment. Welcome the challenges. Celebrate the victories. Acquire knowledge from the failures. And above everything, maintain consistency. The pathway toward achievement maintains not consistently simplified, but it maintains consistently valuable. You've acquired everything you demand to achieve success. The sole element remaining represents to implement decisive action. Therefore, what represents subsequent? It becomes temporal to implement that inaugural step. If you maintain readiness to implement transformation within your existence, if you maintain readiness to cease waiting and commence acting, then currently represents the temporal opportunity. Don't wait for the flawless moment, because it doesn't maintain existence. Implement decisive action today. If this video content has inspired you within any manner, please select that approval button, subscribe to the channel, and activate notifications. Therefore, you never miss additional inspirational content. We maintain existence upon this journey collectively, and I'd experience affection for you toward represent component from this community, while we experience growth and achieve prosperity together. Allow me to know within the commentary section what your subsequent step represents. And remember, achievement represents a continuous journey, not a final destination. Thank you significantly for observing. Until subsequent temporal opportunity, provide care, maintain concentration, and maintain pushing toward your dreams.